Welcome to my video on natal moon in Libra. Hi. So if you have your natal moon in Libra, which you would know if you had access to your birth chart, either through going to astro.com and plugging in your birth information, the time of birth will be important for the days when the moon changes signs. And also if you ever want to know the accuracy of your rising sign. Not really related, but if you don't have an accurate birth time for your chart, I have plenty of ways of helping you figure out what your birth time might be by plotting different points in your chart. So feel free to schedule an appointment with me if you want to via Skype or maybe just some email exchanges. Anyways, so Moon in Libra. So this whole series has talked about how the moon represents your unconscious emotional reactions, your triggers, what makes you feel secure.
Oh, they took my freaking kid. Oh, they took my freaking kidney.
That's a text alert. Oh, I never hear that one. Yeah. Okay. So that was from Charlie the Unicorn. And if you don't know what that is, you just look that up on YouTube and have fun. I think there's 4 parts to it. Maybe 5. I think there's 4. Anyways, so Moon in Libra, we talked about the moon being very much associated with, if you're familiar with the chakras, the second chakra, right? We could associate it with that. So it tends to develop personality-wise in the first 7 years of our life, but that's just sort of a give or take. It could certainly extend beyond that or be pinpointed to an earlier point in time. It has a lot to do with our upbringing. I believe that our moon sign, more than many other placements, are more affected by the environment in general. It can say a lot about your parental influences, and although the moon is generally associated with the mother or the mother influence, it doesn't have to mean that only the mother influenced you in the way that the moon sign indicates. So Libra is a sign of balance, and it is often associated with the word relating. And if you have moon in Libra, you may quite literally find security through relating. So strength in numbers might be kind of your internal motto. The Moon in Libra person is often the one that would like you to take a trip with them to the convenience store down the street. Do you want to go take a little ride with me? Okay, sure. I'm going to go here. It's only going to take a few minutes to get there. I'm only going to be there 7 minutes, but hey, I wouldn't mind having some company. Would you like to come with me? That can also be true of Libra rising, in particular if you have Venus hanging around in the first house with a lot of rising signs, but particularly in Libra and Leo. It can indicate very much a person that enjoys having any type of company at any time. A lot of Moon and Libra people will have pets, almost as a matter of course, almost to the point where one pet goes away for some reason and the next pet is there well before most normal people would have replaced the pet. I don't look at it as replacing, but there are times when, I don't know if you know people who will have a pet and they love it dearly and it's like their favorite creature in the world, and not very long after it dies, we're talking days, they go and buy like a perfect replica. Yeah, that could be Moon in Libra. That could also be indicated in different Sagittarius aspects too. But anyways, so the Moon in Libra person is likable right off the bat, even if there's some nervous energy present. Usually Moon in Libra types are relatively relaxed. The Moon is emotional and Libra is air, so it's intellectual, and therefore, although there's not as much of a tendency to intellectualize emotions in the way that Moon in Gemini would, or even Moon in Aquarius can, there's still more of a tendency to be cool-headed and in general not worrying so much about how things are feeling around them. They're able to understand human relations in a way that is less intuitive, but more from an observational point of view. They can see other points of view very well. They can see other points of view so well that sometimes they can lose sight of their own to keep the peace. And it is an important consideration when one looks back at their childhood, if they have Moon in Libra, to see if they were the peacemaker of the siblings, or if they were the only child, if they were always trying to make peace between the parents or whatever adults were living in the house. I know a few Moon in Libra people. One of them is my father, actually. And there's a certain tension I found when the ascendant and the moon are square one another, and I would find this, for instance, my father is a Sagittarius, but he has Moon in Libra, squaring his ascendant in Cancer by 1 degree. He also has Uranus in the first house, and so this has all created a bit of a nervous energy, because Uranus is a lot about the your sympathetic nervous system. And I always associate Uranus in a house as giving a sort of electricity and a sort of a brilliance in an avant-garde sort of way, so it comes across as awkward or nervous or tense when it actually is just sort of, and it could be nervous and tense. So these are examples of maybe where Moon in Libra might not be relaxed. Also, Saturn in the first house can be a great confidence diminisher too. And so there's always an exception, right? But in general, Moon and Libra people, they don't necessarily seek out social situations, but they can be quite happy within them. And even if there's a part of their personality that wants to keep them out of interacting with others, there's sort of this hermit aspect. The fact of the matter is for Moon in Libra to grow emotionally and to become more secure emotionally, interactions with others is really important. And so if you know a Moon in Libra person that purposely doesn't really like to go places or have people around or do things, what you'll generally notice is, even though there'll be some complaining and pushing, once they get in that situation, they actually really come out quite well, and even at the end they might admit, oh, that wasn't so bad, because there's an aspect to their personality that's really, when you think of emotions, there's nothing direct in emotions, and so there's something very indirect and subconscious in them that's being fulfilled by being around other people. So if you are a Moon in Libra type and you find that you are this person, really try to get yourself out there more, and try not to drag your heels in the dirt when other people are trying to get you to be social. Or even if it's not so much about being social, but just being in crowds or meeting new people, if you find that when it's all done it's really not so bad, then maybe you can start taking a different attitude, knowing that, maybe this isn't my favorite situation, but it always turns out all right, or I always make new friends, or I always have some kind of fun. And really get that sort of intellectual energy out, air, Libra, intellect, so that worry out of you. The trappings of a Moon in Libra personality could be that there's a fear of being alone, insecurity when being alone. That doesn't mean that they can't be alone, or that they won't be alone, or they can't be single or anything like that. But you may notice in the majority of Moon in Libra personalities that there is a desire to be partnered with somebody, or to have a roommate, or to always have somebody around in some particular way. I had a roommate who was an Aquarius with Moon in Libra, and she had a really hard time being alone, and it was just in general. If it wasn't from going from relationship to relationship, it would be always asking if I was going to be around, or oh, let's go do this together, let's go food shopping together, let's do that. And I'm the type of person that is more about function, so if going food shopping is more, if it makes more sense to do at a certain time, I'm not going to go out of my way to go pick you up so we can just go to food shopping together. Whereas her personality type was more going out of her way to make sure that she always had somebody with her when she was running an errand or going to do that or going to do this, or always had to have somebody with her. I hope that she grew out of that. She created a huge rift between us and a few other people, from what I understand, by always needing to have somebody around, and to the detriment of where Moon and Libra can favor their partner or whoever they're emotionally involved with over their friends and family, and even if that person, everyone else can see, is harming them in some way, taking advantage of that person's insecurity, knowing that they can treat them like crap because they'll always want to come back, or they'll always take that person back. So anyways, and then more things about Moon and Libra, which that was sort of like a trapping, but one of the more positive aspects is there's a great desire to keep the peace, and so friendships with Moon and Libra can be really easy to have, especially if you're the type of person that doesn't really have the ability to take advantage of others. You have plenty of confidence in yourself, and you don't need to be you don't always need to just have somebody around, no matter who it is. So if you're the type of person who is friends with a Moon in Libra or in a relationship with Moon in Libra, it's good for you to see where they might be vulnerable, in the sense that they don't want you to be mad at them, they don't want you to be upset, they want everything to be nice and smoothed over. Also, if you have a child with Moon in Libra, this is really good, where you can sort of pick up where they might be over pleasers, to the point where they think that keeping the peace or pleasing a parent or both parents or an older sibling or even a younger sibling is more important than doing things that they want to do for themselves. That's an important lesson with Libra in general, but again, when it's the Moon in Libra, there's this manipulation factor. So where they can be manipulated, but they can also be the manipulator. Moon in Libra can sometimes unknowingly manipulate others. When I say manipulate, I don't think that's always a negative thing, because because there are times when maybe you have done this, where you've manipulated other people to come out of their comfort zone, and then they've come into their own a little bit. You've gotten them to try something new by using methods that will get them to try it, and then they're so happy and glad that they did. Or maybe you've manipulated them to get out of a situation that isn't so healthy for them, and maybe manipulation isn't the right word for that, but Moon in Libra does have such a need for balance, and it can manifest in the sense where relationships are very short-lived. It seems like that you're very fickle if you're Moon in Libra, because that he criticized me and I didn't feel good about that, and so I stopped being with that guy. It can get to the point where any conflict at all creates this desire to break off the relationship. Similarly, it can also keep relationships from moving forward, because things aren't always going to be nice and clean and happy, and it could avoid. Moon in Libra sometimes doesn't want to get into the nitty-gritty and really address deep-seated things, because it doesn't feel good, and it can create a conflict. And conflict isn't always bad. Sometimes you need to clear the debris, and then what you look at afterwards is much clearer. Everybody is on the same page. Yes, maybe it was uncomfortable for a few minutes or a couple of hours or a few days, but now we're all on the same page, and we can proceed. We can proceed now into a better place, and maybe proceeding is separating, the relationship. Maybe it is staying together. But Moon in Libra could potentially fall into this fantasy world of everything's okay, everything's all right, as long as I'm always doing what they ask for, and I'm anticipating their needs, and I'm pleasing them, then clearly I'm not doing anything wrong because I'm doing nothing but trying to please them, when the very fact that you're not attending to your own needs and wants is teaching them that your needs and wants aren't important. So keep that in mind, that we do teach other people how to treat ourselves, and Moon in Libra is particularly adept at being so concerned about keeping things gentle and happy, um, and avoiding conflict, that they can really easily avoid their own speaking up for themselves. Conversely, though, when you get into a Moon in Libra that does have a really good sense of themselves, they can be really good at debating, and to the point where they can always get the last word in, and it's always kind of subtle and not very combative, but they can be very good at arguing points because they do have a unique ability to see and feel what all viewpoints are coming from. If they really take a moment, they can see that side and this side, and I can see where it's all coming from. But I still have to pick something that resonates best with me at this point in my life. And so that's one of the reasons why they also don't create a lot of conflict, is because they can see the other side. They can see why you might be mad at them for doing this, or why I might be mad at you, and okay, I can see where that's coming from, but I still need to speak up for myself, or I still am going to demand that you are respectful to me. And if Moon in Libra resonates with you more as somebody who always needs to have a partner, needs to have somebody around, I always want to have other people around me, then it could be that, in childhood, perhaps the mother or the father, perhaps you had to take over one of those roles. Like if you were male, you had to kind of be like the father a little bit, or you had to take adult male roles, or if you were the female, you had to take adult female roles. So it could be that you automatically took it upon yourself to be that person that was always the gap that needed to be filled in the household, whatever that was. So if you grew up with two parents, but one was kind of a deadbeat, or if you grew up with one parent and you tried to take on the role of the one that was missing, no matter what your gender might be. Let's see, what was the last thing? Oh, jeez. There's one more thing I really wanted to throw out there. The obvious thing with Moon in Libra, right, is Libra is ruled by Venus, so there's a flair for cooking and art and making the home, because Moon is, traditionally, it's happy in the sign of Cancer, which is home and nurturing. So there is a desire to make the home life in particular really just pleasant to be in, whatever that means to you. And again, the flair for cooking, it could be even that cooking or art or crafting is a means of security for you. Like you tend to go to those things when you feel like life is sort of caving in around you, or there's a conflict that you don't love to deal with. You might be escaping through this, this art form that you really like, or through, oh yes, I remember. So the other thing about the Moon in Libra is it's a sign of justice, right? So it wants things to be fair, and it's actually makes for a really interesting, when it starts to evolve, the Moon in Libra becomes way better at looking at things around them and seeing what needs to be fixed, particularly in relationships. And this doesn't just have to be in two, like a couple relationship. It could be relationships between, I don't know, Libras are great diplomats, and they might understand diplomatic situations between countries, like politics, really, really well. And in fact, the Libra sign in general can actually be really excellent at understanding politics and how it works, because let's face it, politics aren't really logical. There's a lot of manipulation involved in trying to anticipate what other people's needs might be, and things like that. So so they're really good at seeing what could be crumbling around them in terms of making things harmonious. So anything that's not harmonious, they can generally look at it and say, I know what could help that, or I know what's missing, or I know what's unbalanced, really, is what Libra Moon's trying to say. I know what is imbalanced there. I know what they could do. I know what could be fixed or what could be inserted. Okay, so celebrities or people that we all might know with Moon in Libra. Not me. We're not at my moon sign yet. But Leonardo DiCaprio would be one. Kate Winslet also has Moon in Libra. She actually, if I recall correctly, she has Sun, Moon, and Ascendant in Libra, and all within like the same 2 or 3 degree orbs. So I don't know what she's like in real life, but that would be a huge red flag for me in a chart, like super codependency. Of course, depending on what else is going on, like in the first house and stuff like that too. But who else? Oh, I'll cheat and I'll look for you. Let's see. Let's pick somebody that you're not going to make a face at. Not that I can really even know. Sylvester Stallone. Joseph Stalin. And Edward Norton, who is one of my favorite actors. He was a Leo with Moon in Libra. That's interesting. Okay, so anyways, I don't know what that all means, and I don't even know that anybody cares about that. But next up will be Moon in Scorpio. Ooh, that's when Moon is in Scorpio, it's in its fall, which means that something has to die about that placement, the in this case the moon in the sign. Something about it has to sort of fall away for the moon sign to come out, to evolve and deal with its emotional security triggers and its ability to relate to itself and other people. Moon in Scorpio is really cool and interesting, and I actually have a lot of friends and family members with Moon in Scorpio. Actually, when you've been studying astrology this long, you kind of just know a lot of people with every celestial body and every sign, and that's really the best part about learning, is that books can only tell you so much, but when you actually study the people around you and you know what you're studying and who you're studying, that is the best type of information, because it is experiential, and you've learned, you've tried to get to know these people, to understand them, and of course I got to understand myself pretty well if I want to get what somebody else is all about too, right? Okay, well, that is the end of Moon in Libra. I hope you have a lovely day, night, or evening, and I will be back probably in a few days with Moon in Scorpio. If you have any questions or comments, or you're not sure how to get your birth date and time, you can put them in comments, and when I get time, I'll plug them into astro.com or my program on my computer. Otherwise, you can go figure it out yourself. This is some really good stuff. Like, you don't have to believe in astrology or that any of this makes any sense to gain an appreciation and a benefit from it. If it just gets you to think about who you are and how you act and how you can tap into your talents and your abilities, and how you can calm yourself to act in a way that's more rational or from a better emotional place, then astrology has helped you, whether or not you understand why it works, or if you even don't think that it works at all, right? So whatever triggers somebody to become more aware of who they are and why they are and how they are, then it's all helpful and it's all good, right? Okay. Anyways, thanks for listening. I'll see you soon.